If we want to go away from prejudice and skepticism and move towards knowledge about others, that's going to bring us openness and joy.
Hello, everybody, and a very warm welcome to the second expert talk of Empowering Female Leaders. We are a very, very new community, which I founded just 2 or 3 weeks ago. And it's a community that is entirely dedicated to helping women to thrive, especially in their careers. So we are doing these expert talks with women from very different backgrounds, different countries, very different experiences and topics every single Thursday. And there you will get new perspectives, inspiring insights. And each time we care about that you have an empowering takeaway that you can implement in your own life. I am very pleased to welcome Pallavi Bhagwat, who will share with us today her experience with cultural diversity in global business. Pallavi traveled extensively for work across Africa, Europe, the Middle East, Asia, Australia, New Zealand, and she experienced cultural diversity in many different countries. And most importantly, she also experienced the impact of cultural diversity on people. Find out in the next 30 minutes how a better understanding of cultural diversity can make a difference, not only in a better understanding of your colleagues and clients, but also how this can contribute to a more empathetic world. So now, welcome to Pallavi, and would you like to say a few words about yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ulrike, for having me here today. And I'm delighted to talk to you because you're always a pleasure to talk to. And it's great to talk about a topic that is, I think, very interesting to me for sure. Because I come from, as you mentioned, I come from a tourism, destination management and events background. And I've traveled extensively and worked with clients from, I would say, from America to New Zealand and from Scandinavia to Africa. Quite much covering the globe. And it's been always my interest to understand a little more of the people that you're working with, or to just be interested in things more than what you're having or what you're usually doing. So from that point of view, cultural diversity has been a topic of interest, but also something that we all need to look at, especially now, as ever-changing world is changing at a faster pace than before. Our businesses have not been limited to geographies, but open to the globe. So this is a topic that definitely, I think, comes handy for everybody who is not only looking for better business outcome, but also for a productive relationship with their work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you said that it's very important in this world today, which is even more fast-paced, obviously, and where we also have the chance to meet much more people from different countries than before. I started my career 25 years before, and there it was very special if you met someone from another continent, for example. Today, it has become very normal, even if now the new today is without traveling. So you don't even meet anymore. So what do you see? You said something about it already in your introduction, but can you go a little bit deeper into why is this really important? Why is it so important to understand better different cultures, different ways of thinking of people?
Yes, I guess as you mentioned that today we don't travel, but we definitely meet people from so many different countries. And since we don't travel, it becomes more important for us to understand them when we are talking. As you know, as I was saying, that when we are talking to a person, we are usually having, if you're not having knowledge of where this person comes from, there's either a skepticism, which I think there is if you're not having the knowledge and understanding, and there's prejudice. So if we want to go away from prejudice and skepticism and move towards knowledge about others, that's going to bring us openness and joy. So this is why it is important for us to understand who we are working with. Can I have a better relationship? how is the culture there? Because a lot of times when we are working in any business setup, the cultural sensitivity changes from region to region. And something that is very common in a Western world can be a taboo in the Eastern world, or vice versa. So if we understand this when we are working with these people, it's just going to help us be more productive and also be more efficient, because at the end result is you want to have a positive impact even in your work or your personal life. So this is going to definitely take you towards a better relationship with people, long-term relationships, productive ways of working, and a more empathetic world.
There are many different types of diversity. There's also the male and female part in it. Do you see that there is a difference in how women experience the challenges they might face with different cultures than men?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the reason behind it is like every culture is rich with their own heritage. They have their own ways of how they perceive women. So it's very important to also understand that where this mindset comes from. Apart from that, you still have to go ahead and work, right? But if you understand that mindset, it just helps you a lot. And there is always a lot of diversities, like the gender diversity we are talking about, and it's always that women have to I think make their mark. And we are at this crossroads where we are in a very, amazing time, because yesterday we saw on TV how there was this first VP, Vice President America, she's a colored woman. So we've all, as women in the world, have been progressing in a way that, in spite of all these diversities and hurdles, we do manage to break through in our own pace. So women always have to take this extra effort. It has been so, and I think what I feel now, that we don't mind to take that extra effort, because we know as women that we can do it, and that's what matters, isn't it?
Yeah, that's truly what matters. It's quite nice that you mentioned Kamala Harris. Yesterday, my husband said, you should write to her and ask her to join a talk. And I said, sure, I'm sure she has the time to do that now. So everyone on the call has a connection with someone like this. Let me know. Let me know. But it's very interesting what you said, and it makes me think about a situation that I had earlier, very early on in my career. Actually, I was 27 and I had a communications role in a automobile factory. So it was a technical role in a certain way. I had to explain to other people how the production system works. And then our company bought a part of a Japanese automobile company, and the big leaders came over regularly to see how we produce these cars, because we had this very special system. And then the first time that happened, I welcomed a very high-level senior manager of this Japanese company. And it was a man. I was a young woman. He saw me. He ignored me completely. He didn't shake my hand, and he looked aside and refused to even look at me. And the translator that time said, yeah, you have to understand, he was expecting to meet a man. It's a technical topic. A young woman like you will certainly not be able to give him the information he needs. And this comes back to what you've said before, that I think we just have to do it then. You can have in that situation a very destructive reaction that tells you, oh, I am not good enough. And I will not make it, because this is so rude on the other side. But if you know that in certain cultures, certain reactions might be a bit more extreme from your own point of view, then you can see that in a different light and still deliver your task and do your job as well as you normally do it, without being too much perturbed. So I think this is something that popped to my mind when you spoke about this. What would you say are things that you experienced where you had the feeling that you have to make quite a twist, quite a turn in your own behavior so that it matches with the other side?
Honestly, what you said right now, that you have to anyways, do the things. So I believe in that way of doing. So I've not really looked at myself in a way. I've always looked at, okay, I need to find a solution, and that's what I work on. So there hasn't been a specific thing, but I feel it's always like you look at the situation, evaluate, and just get onto it, because you know that you have to get these things done. And you just have to manage. But I think understanding people, because of my travel, and uh, having these experience that I've been fortunate to have, because I've been traveling across the globe from the time we didn't have the smartphones and the internets, and we used to have the calling cards or stuff like that. And in those days, it would be a little more difficult to be in a dynamic profession as tourism. But I think if we usually my approach has been that, okay, you get this done whichever way this needs to be done. So that has never like specifically been a hurdle, uh, as I look at it. I think it's also about the way I look at it. I can say that I don't have a specific way where I can say that, I did this in a different way to kind of move through. But I am sure that there must have been many times that it has been that you have to think about options, and you know that somebody's saying this to you just because you're a woman. And one or two examples that have been there where I've realized that someone is behaving within a certain way because you're a woman, but all I've done is that just given it back in some way that can be subtle enough that people get to know that this is the line that you won't cross, and you respect another person as it is.
Because it is, if I look at the complexity of cultural diversity across the globe, obviously I can imagine that not for every single country where we travel, not for every single person that joins our conference call, when we have conference calls from people from all over the world, that each single time we can adapt and think about before how this person might have a reaction that is maybe intriguing us or irritating for us, and that we can really prepare for it. So what would be an advice from your side when you have these very complex intercultural meetings where you feel that people somehow don't really understand each other, or where you see that one is saying something in a certain way, but the other one is answering, but not, not like this, but like this. This is the question, and woof, the answer passes by like this, because there's a certain misunderstanding which is around because of a different culture.
That can happen not only because of culture, but also because of language, because sometimes you have a certain way of language, and English can be not be the first language for many, so expressing it in the way people want to is not many times possible, or there can be also the language problem. But as you said, if I see that when people, I have usually been, when I've been working, it's usually like when with a particular region or a particular country, so there has not been a lot of like mixing at the same time. But with those countries, or whenever you've been working with, especially different cultures, you realize that they have a different way of thinking, they have a different pace of working, they have a different expectation from you. So I think that all this is just contributes to say that we are all very similar but yet very different in a way. And if while our work we are mindful about that, and if we study a little about that, then we are in a better possible way to be a better bridge between people, or just to be between you and the other person. Mm-hmm. So that helps, and that's what I've seen. So even if there's like a little bit of miscommunication, I think if you have the will and the effort that you take to connect to people, mm-hmm. then you can turn it and pan it into the right direction that you want to. Mm-hmm. Because that's what the whole point is about. You want to make it work at the end of the day.
So we talked about a little more now, I would say, about the challenges in this first 10, 15 minutes of this talk. in our preparation, when we prepared this talk, we spoke also about the opportunity of cultural diversity, because each challenge is always an opportunity, and so is cultural diversity. And you said something that was very compelling to me. You said that cultural diversity is the opportunity to learn to be more empathetic. Can you explain a bit more about that?
Yes, I guess when you try to understand another person, you try to understand the people you're working with, you also try to go a little deeper in why they're thinking in certain way, because you want to have a communication and you want to build a relationship, because at the end of the day you're spending your time, it may be your work time or your, which I mean, all that effort that you're putting in, you want a productive result. You want something that is coming in a positive way. So when you're connecting to people and you're understanding where they come from, why they are behaving in certain ways, and what are their values, it just makes you not being judgmental, and it also helps you in connecting, because you know why a certain way of thinking is leading to the consequence. So it's just, if I am more mindful of you as a person and your culture, where you come from, your values and your background, wouldn't I be able to appreciate you in a way that is more, I would say, empathetic, instead of being judgmental and being just discarding it, but being more mindful about why this particular person is thinking like that. And you can actually work in a more positive and constructive way. So I think that if I understand another person and the values and the background they come from, it's always going to give me a meaningful relationship. So if we all as people try and make this effort of understanding our, maybe our colleagues or whatever, if you are into, if you're even not into a global role, and still if you have clients or colleagues or just friends from other places, or you want to make friends, understanding them in a way is, in the cultural diversity, understanding them is always going to help you in a meaningful, empathetic world, to lead you to there.
How much do you, for example, change your behavior, or maybe even the way you dress, for example, the way you speak? How much do you change or adapt this when you, for example, you are now, you're coming from India, you worked a lot in the Middle East, you are now living in Sweden. So this is really a big difference. So everywhere. Um, do you see a different self, kind of, when you are in a Swedish environment with many Swedish people, for example, than when you're with your Indian community more? Or were you different in the Middle East, to just make an example with these three countries?
Yeah, it's very interesting, as you said, that I come from a wonderful ancient country like India, which has a lot of wealth of knowledge and wisdom. And also, especially the town that I come from, Pune, is always been in the forefront of women education and rights. So it's been a place like, even in all of India, Pune has been one of the leading places where women's rights, and we had the first Indian doctor from the city that I come from. So it's always been a city that has respected women, and there I would say right. But yeah, from India to the Middle East, which is again a different culture altogether, and the deserts to to Scandinavia, where it's right now like the snow and minus temperatures. So it's quite diverse in that sense. But if I think about, if I have to change when I'm in different places, I don't do that. So I think that. I don't have to do that. Fortunately, I'm the same if I'm talking to my friends in Scandinavia, or if I'm talking to people in India, I still am the same person. So I don't have, but I definitely know that I have to be in different places, then sometimes you do have to change with your dressing. Like if you have to go, if I'm in the Middle East and I have to go to a place, I have to be mindful about that culture, and I have to have that respect. Not because, oh, why can't I wear it? Just like if you go to a friend's place and they have something, they have their traditional Christmas dinner in a certain way, you don't say that, oh, why can't I do that? Because that's their tradition. And countries are also similar. Like they have their traditions, and if you're visiting there, you need to respect them. And whereas dressing is concerned, if I'm going to the Middle East, or if I'm there and I'm going to visit a mosque, I need to respect that. Or if I'm going to a particular place in India, and especially there's some event, and I need to respect that. And it's out of that understanding and respect, not out of a feeling of fear. But whereas my personality is concerned, I think I'm um, I don't change that, because I can be the same. And I think that's important, because I wouldn't really like to change when I move on to the different places, because that would be not having my own identity. And I don't think that would be a nice thing to, that wouldn't be a good place to be.
Yeah, I think this is certainly a very important advice, because especially when we are maybe not so sure about ourselves, and many of us have a lot of doubts about ourselves in different areas, then obviously when you go somewhere where you're not sure if how you behave will be understood in the right way, then you might shift into a certain role which is not yours anymore. And I think this is then obviously becoming a little problem, because you lose yourself and you lose your authenticity. And when you are not in your authenticity, you are not in your full power. You will not be charismatic. You will just leave a lot of yourself outside of the door, and it will not come with you into the meeting where you are, or the dinner that you have with people from different places. I think that is a very, very important point, which I can see there. And I also agree with you that this dressing idea, that you need to dress differently in different places. And I think that is completely logical. And you can adapt it to a degree where you still feel well. There's always a threshold which you might not want to go over, but you say, I don't feel well like this. It's just not me anymore. But things like this happen. I went once to China, and they absolutely wanted me to have a very colorful silk stitched jacket. Yeah. So I had to do the whole training with the guys that I had to do there in this jacket. And it felt very awkward, because it was really, it wasn't me, and they didn't warn me either. So I came in and said, you have to wear this jacket. If you wear this jacket, the people will listen to you. And I thought, okay, well, I'll wear this jacket. And I felt very disguised. I somehow didn't, but it was a very interesting experience as well, because at the end, it made me laugh, and it made me be very natural on the other side. So there was a little bit of paradoxical effect on it, and it worked out well. It worked. They listened to me. It worked well. So this jacket did miracles. So sometimes there are little things, little compromises which we can do probably around this. If I now look, because time always flies with these talks, do you want to say something, Pallavi?
With dressing up and women, I think that generally that's a thing that they like to do. So it's definitely not a minus, but a plus, because why not? So, there can be women who can say that, oh, no, maybe not. But usually, no. I just recall an incident from one of my visits. I was in one of this theme park of, I think, somewhere in Thailand. And I went to the washroom, and then I see this huge, like a lot of different women. So there were women from the Middle East, there were women from Asia, there were women from the Western countries. And I see all these women standing in front of the mirror and all doing the same thing, all trying to look good. And then I just had a look, and I'm like, they're all different women, but at the end of it, so in our diversity, we may have diversity, but we do all have a lot of similarities. and we can connect to people on similarities and diversities together.
I love this last word. Well, last word, we're not at the end yet, but this is a really nice ending here, because this is also the aim why I started this community, and why I started it the way I started it, because I'm really looking for women from very different places to bring in the color of the experiences and of the perspectives, especially, but at the same time to show that at the end we have common interests, we have common goals, we have common challenges, and there is much more that is unifying us than what is separating us. And I think this is exactly the message. So we are coming already not to the very end, but to a little wrap up already. The time is flying; it's unbelievable. What I noted three interesting takeaways here. Three things which our audience might be able to apply to a certain degree in their life, or at least keep in mind when they face next time maybe a little challenging situation or an insecure situation with someone. The first one is about that you can see it as an opportunity. So understanding the values of others better and making this effort of putting you in their shoes, of understanding why they might have this reaction and where they come from, is something that helps you to be more empathetic, more mindful, and will certainly largen your horizon in a very quick way, and maybe change even your own values, because you suddenly have a completely different perspective if you allow to step into these other shoes. The second one, which I find a very good advice, is when you said that don't change, stay yourself, so that you're still an authentic person. And even if you understand why the other's reaction is like this, and why maybe the others might have an odd reaction to what you think is normal, still somehow stay yourself and don't become someone completely different, because then you will lose this whole power that you have. So you said very clearly that you stay yourself across the different countries and cultures you are in. And then the last thing, which I can just repeat once more, is that, yeah, we have a lot of differences, but we have also a lot in common. Now, for me, it's always important in these talks that our audience has also some takeaways, which I just mentioned now, but I would like to hear from you, Pallavi, as well. What you would say is the one thing that our audience can apply in their lives so that they can make maybe a bold step towards the direction where they want to go or further develop themselves when it comes to cultural diversity.
And what I would say is that, especially on this forum where you have, which is also a focused women-centric forum, I would also like to say that women always, what I know is, want to take that extra effort. They're ready to do that. They want to put their 100%. So when we're talking about cultural diversity in their workplace or with colleagues, clients, partners, vendors, whoever, is that it's not rocket science, and what it's going to lead to is like a little bit of effort, a little bit of research of understanding people. And it's very easy nowadays to do research, with all the you just Google it or whatever, and you have information about a particular region, about people. So you can take that effort, and this is going to help you in openness, but also if you have different teams across different countries, you would be a good leader, because when you are listening to people, only then you can be able to lead everyone in the right direction. Because to be a good listener is something that you'll have to be open to. And for being open to, you need to understand where people come from. So this is going to not only lead you to make meaningful long-term relations, but also have a positive atmosphere at your workplace. So wherever you're working with, you're going to have a good relationship with your clients or your colleagues. And all this is going to lead to a better mental health for all of us. It's going to be less stress and better mental health. So all in all, it is an effort that you need to put in, but it's going to give you massive results. I think the results are much more tempting than how much effort goes. So I would definitely recommend everyone to have a specific time or goal dedicated to take this extra effort, because the pluses are much more.
Thank you, Pallavi. I think this is a very nice last word, that and it comes back to, it's a challenge that is actually an opportunity. I thank you very much for all these insights and for sharing with us your thoughts about this topic, because it is a big topic and we struggle sometimes with it. So thank you for that, Pallavi. Thank you so much for watching this talk. If you haven't subscribed yet, click here. Follow us on Instagram or become active yourself in our LinkedIn group. I am very much looking forward to having you on board. You are important, and together we can make a difference. See you next time